think happy.
Hello random person, Sab Nino here. Lately I've been enjoying making videos about niche SpongeBob topics, so why not discuss some forgotten SpongeBob characters? In recent years, SpongeBob is no stranger to bringing old characters back as either Easter eggs or standalone episodes. However, I want to bring up the characters that are either too obscure to bring back, or ones that I don't see coming back anytime soon. So here's my top 10 list of SpongeBob characters that we'll probably never see again. The only rule I have is that these characters must come from the show itself. No games, comics, or even weird Flash game characters. So let's begin. Number 10, Mr. Doodles. A character from the first 3 seasons that I wouldn't be surprised if most of you forgot about. He showed up in Sandy's rocket and is seen on TV as Mr. Krabs' pet worm. He's also referred to as Incidental 72 and is mostly used as a background worm even to this day. So why am I bringing him up if he still appears? Because although he shows up regularly as an extra, he's never been seen as Mr. Krabs' worm since season 3, which is very interesting to me because the show has brought back some underutilized characters such as Spot and Bubble Bass. But Mr. Doodle stays dormant. In some ways, it feels like they're avoiding him like the plague. In the most recent episode, Necronomnomicon, Mr. Krabs is shown walking a pile of money instead of an actual pet. And in Pet the Rock, Mr. Krabs is nowhere to be seen. Maybe he got taken away from him due to the animal abuse shown in this scene? Either way, I don't think the crew cares enough to bring him back even as a cameo. Number 9, Jim, the original fry cook. There have been many cooks before SpongeBob, such as, not SpongeBob, but the most memorable of these previous cooks has to be Jim, who visited the Krusty Krab and gets SpongeBob jealous. He even harshly tries to help him make his patties better. He was an interesting character with layers and lore, but despite this, his debut episode, the original Fry Cook, is his first and only appearance. Not counting Drawn to Life SpongeBob edition, but there he's just a skin. SpongeBob isn't alien to the concept of bringing back old characters, such as Doodle Bob and Kevin. Yet it feels like they like to go for more iconic / nostalgic opposed to characters that actually deserve a comeback. I highly doubt anyone really cares about Jim enough to bring him back, but I hope one of these days he does, because he's a great character. Number 8. Stanley S SquarePants. Honestly, I could have put a lot of SpongeBob's family on this entry of the list, since season 5 has this weird habit of introducing random family members to SpongeBob, like Blackjack, Captain Blue, and Uncle Sherm. But out of all of these characters I mentioned, I think Stanley is least likely to come back. First off, his gimmick of ruining everything he touches isn't that interesting. Second, he's just a taller, more annoying version of SpongeBob. To be honest, there's so much more interesting SpongeBob family members to use that there's really no point in bringing him back. And personally, I think it's for the best. Number 7. Howard. Not to be confused with Howard Blandy. Did you know Con Street briefly had a 4th neighbor? Well, it did, and his name was Howard. He got along with Squidward super well. Almost too well, to the point where he also hates bubble-blowing jellyfishers like SpongeBob and Patrick. But after many attempts of Squidward trying to hide them from him, when he finds out, he actually joins in, and we never see him again. I don't think he'll ever come back due to him being written for this premise in particular. And they couldn't bring him back permanently like Spot, because even though he works just fine, Howard would be too drastic of a status quo change. Which is a shame, because even though I wouldn't want him as a main character, I think he could be a nice middle ground for SpongeBob, Patrick, and Squidward to interact with. I wouldn't want him to appear in every other episode, but I think a few appearances as a side character would be very interesting. Number 6. The Trenchbellies. In The Legends of Bikini Bottom, not to be confused with Boo-Kini Bottom, one of the episodes in that miniseries was Trenchbellies, where SpongeBob and Patrick find hillbillies in a trench. I don't think they'll ever return outside of this dedicated episode for a few reasons. The first reason is that, similar to Mr. Doodles, a lot of these trench bellies are labeled as Y incidentals. Does the Y stand for yokel? So after this episode, they've used the trench belly designs as regular background fish, just without the scratchy eyes. Also, in Something Narwhal This Way Comes, Narlene and Nobby's family pretty much serve the same purpose as the trench bellies. So if they ever need a group of hillbillies, then I think they'll just use those. Plus, in the same episode, Ma Angler was reused as one of Plankton's family members, which is super distracting. Just like Stanley, I don't mind if this group never returned, because they weren't that interesting or memorable. Number 5. Lord Poltergeist. Lord Poltergeist was a ghost pirate from the episode Ghoulfuls. He haunts the 7 seas in his ship and steals people's souls. Gee, I wonder what other character does the same thing. Yeah, he's pretty much a copy of the Flying Dutchman. And I think people writing this episode forgot about him last minute and decided to half-heartedly write him in the end of it, along with slapping the lore label onto him by making him the Dutchman's first mate. The main reason why I don't think we'll ever see him again is solely due to the Flying Dutchman being a better ghost pirate in every way. The most I can see him being is an occasional extra in ghost-related crowds. Number 4. Lord Royal Highness. I was on the fence between him and Jack Kahuna Laguna, but I think LRH has a lower chance of showing up. His first and only appearance in the series is Atlantis SquarePants, where he greets SpongeBob and the gang as the, well, LRH of the lost city of Atlantis. So there's 3 factors as to why I don't think he'll ever come back. 1. His location is very distant from the rest of the show's locales. So I bet it's really hard to come up with a story reason as to why they'd come back to Atlantis. I feel like it is important to note that in SpongeBob Simulator, Atlantis is right next to Rock Bottom. But then again, this is the same game that implies that you have to go through Kelp Forest and Goo Lagoon to get to the Krusty Krab. So I highly doubt the location placement in this game is canon. Second, even if there was a story reason, in the episode they threw out the medallion that powers the Atlantean bus. So it's impossible for anyone to rediscover the Atlantean amulet. Thirdly, and unfortunately, David Bowie passed away, so it's probably in the crew's best interest to not recast him like they've been doing with Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, which I say is very respectful of them. Despite his cool design and interesting personality, I feel like all odds go against him ever returning to the series. Number 3. Herb and Margie. In the episode I Was Stupid, Patrick's real parents was a twist ending after Patrick has mistaken 2 random sea stars as his mom and dad. After this episode, they just sort of vanished. But in season 12, they make their probably final appearance in the episode Patrick's Tantrum. There's one big reason as to why I don't think Herb and Margie will ever come back. The Patrick Star Show. Ever since that show aired, Bunny and Cecil are now the true depictions of Patrick's parents. Even though one of the board artists had made some hilarious theories as to why this change was made in universe, and some people have speculated the Patrick Show takes place inside of Patrick's brain, although these theories are really plausible, I don't think the fan theory is true, since in Pet the Rock, a picture frame of the Star family is seen. I know I'm going to piss off a ton of people for saying this, and I don't care, but Bunny and Cecil have better designs and more personality than Herb and Margie ever did. And the people in the comment section of SpongeBob social medias complaining about the changes and asking where Sister Sam went are massive hypocrites. Cause Sam was also a retcon of the episode Something Smells.
If my sister finds out, oh wait, I don't have a sister.
Speaking of Sam, I was originally going to put her on here instead, because a while back, I saw a storyboard of a Camp Coral episode, Camp Puma, where Patrick's OG parents made an appearance. However, that turned out to be a hoax, so here they are. Number 2. Squilliam Fancy Son. In the most overhyped episode Band Geeks, Squilliam makes his first appearance and making himself known as Squidward's arch rival from band class. He's rich and successful, everything Squidward wishes he was in life, and Squilliam takes absolute delight in rubbing it in his face. He was such an interesting foil for Squidward, one that makes sense for him as a character, but sadly after a while he just vanished. No, vanish would be an understatement. He's been flat out missing for 14 years, and I'm pretty sure the current crew wants to keep it that way. Vincent Waller has stated that there are currently no plans to bring him back, and might consider even demoting him as an extra. This mindset honestly baffles me, especially since his VA is frequently in the recording booth. He's the voice of both Perch Perkins and Bubble Bass, and they frequently use the latter in the later seasons. The only time we've seen Squilliam in recent years is via books, the Minecraft DLC, and Bikini Bottom Inquirers. I personally think it's a massive shame, and even a missed opportunity to not bring him back in the post-sequel era, because the show does a great job of taking underused characters and making them more interesting, such as what they did for SpongeBob's parents. So if him not being interesting was the reason for not including him, then flesh him out. Dig deeper into his character. You have an iconic character free for you to use, and you decide to do nothing with him? I'm hoping one of these days they'll figure out a way to bring back Mr. Fancy Son, but for now, I guess we'll have to settle for Lady Upturn. She's a decently funny character, but she'll never be able to capture what Squilliam once had. Let's talk about some honorable mentions. Mindy/Movie Neptune. I honestly don't think these two will ever properly return, and if they did, not without a recast for both of them, especially Neptune. Plus, they never used the movie Neptune for the series, even when they got the rights to use everything from the first film. For now, Dennis and Mindy has made a few Easter eggs, so maybe it's possible. One thing I forgot to bring up is that Mindy does appear sometimes in mobile apps, just without any voice acting, but she's often paired with the show Neptune and Triton. So I don't know what the hell's going on there, but to all you Mindy fans, you have some representation and Krusty Cook-Off and in a jam, I guess. Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. Due to both Ernest Borgnine and Tim Conway passing away, the team has decided to retire the characters opposed to recasting, which is a very respectful way of handling them. However, this doesn't mean they flat out never appear. They make non-spoken cameos and are still represented via in-universe reboots and merchandise, sometimes even spoken cameos from younger versions of these characters, which I think is fine, since young MM and BB have always been inconsistent. So even though the characters themselves will never make a prominent role, I'm happy they're keeping their memory alive. Sam Star. I was originally going to put her on the list until I found out Camp Puma was a myth. I don't think Sam will ever return solely due to Squidina, which is fine because she's a better character anyway. But although she was considered to be a part of the Patrick show, she does make a few cameos in it. Patrick Notstar. The reason why he's an honorable mention is because I don't know whether or not I could see the show bringing him back or not. It would be cool to have him in another spoken cameo. Maybe have him appear in the Patrick show. For now, he's made a single background appearance, so he's at least present. The Tattletale Strangler. I can see him returning again, but I can also see him not doing so as well. He's made a few cameos, and even a spoken one, but in said spoken cameo, he flat out dies. Death normally doesn't matter in SpongeBob, but since this was his final appearance right now, I can't help but question if he's actually in the Great Beyond. Zeus the Guitar Lord. I don't think he'll ever make a major appearance again, but if Big Birthday Blowout is anything to go by, they're not against cameos. Grandma SquarePants. I would have put her on this list originally, since after Pet Sitter Pat, her voice actress retired from acting. In the recent episode, Try Not to Laugh, she just randomly appears out of nowhere. My jaw dropped when this scene came on, because she was the last character I would have expected to appear. I don't know if she'll make more appearances, but if this was her final appearance, then I think it's a really sweet send-off. Carl. He's made a few cameos as a background fish, but I don't think he'll make another major appearance again, since just like Howard, he was written for this specific episode in mind. And for the number one character that I don't think we will ever see again, Squilvia. In the episode Love That Squid, Squidward falls in love with a familiar-looking cephalopod, but due to being rusty, SpongeBob becomes his wingman and does a practice date with him. It doesn't work out, and Squidward accidentally lashes out at him in front of Squilvia, and despite him expecting this to be a deal-breaker for her, it actually won her over. So this was the first time in the show where Squidward actually finds a partner, or so we thought. After her first appearance, she never appeared again, not even as a cameo. Plus, her only appearance outside of the show is one social media post and SpongeBob's Idle Adventure. I honestly thought this was pretty weird even as a kid, but Vincent Waller gave us an idea of what probably happened after that episode. She couldn't stand his clarinet playing, or she was eaten by a whale. I hear that happens from time to time. So they've either broken up or Squilvia just died off screen. Regardless of the incident, Squidward basically acts like if Squilvia has never never happened, because he tried getting together with Petunia in the flower pot, and had a crush on Randy in Saving Bikini Bottom, the Sandy Cheeks movie. I originally had a joke about Viacom taking this video down for mentioning Saving Bikini Bottom, but since the movie's out, I ended up just not going with that joke. But the main takeaway from this is that Squidward is a bisexual icon, and you cannot take that away from me. Squilliam wasn't that interesting of a character, but if she had more appearances, I'm sure they could have done more with her. So I am a little let down that the Squidvia ship never went anywhere. So that was a top 10 list of SpongeBob characters we'll most likely never see again. Which character on this list would you like to see return in the show? Which characters do you hope would never come back? Comment below. And as always, it's all sad from here.